Greetings. My name is David Zokaitis, and I'm here to talk about parking ramp mechanisms. And as an aside, in case you haven't noticed, I'm campaigning for mayor. Check out the bright, colorful T-shirt. Here it is.
David, speak to the council,
Anyway,
please.
Here I am. Parking ramp mechanisms. My outline here, it's kind of short, but it's a good introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit about human tradition, human nature, and that will lead to an assessment of the history of the parking ramp and then how we can make things a little bit better. Okay, so the nice thing about tradition is it makes us feel safe, it's comfortable, it's familiar. On downside, sometimes some traditions aren't so good, but there's a whole lot of inertia with traditions. And one of the traditions here is that the city council goes along with the traditional RFP city process. Keep that in the back of your mind. Now, as far as human nature goes, sometimes we're into problem avoidance. Handy in the short term, really bad in the long term. And this is not a matter of intellect. A lot of really smart people like to avoid problems. Okay. Now, if you put the previous two concepts together, tradition and human nature, it helps to explain how organizations really function, how tradition carries on, and how the parking ramp process has gone through here in Sioux Falls. Now, legacy developments and their associates, they have some issues. I've encountered these 6 problems that have been publicized in the news and have come up here in city council meetings. They have multiple safety violations. They were involved in the collapse of the Copper Lounge and involved in a man's death. There's an ongoing criminal investigation. Somebody at the council meeting reported that they violated a lease. They illegally dumped asbestos. And there's this $20,000 fine that was just forgiven. I think there's some corruption problems either in state laws or however this action was enforced. And I really don't think the city needs to reward this kind of behavior for legacy developments. All right, so there's some issues with the parking ramp. Let me highlight some of those for you. The Walker report gave us a certain cost for publicly available space, and the city wants to do something that's 4 times that cost. If you look at the contract we put up and the number of publicly available spaces, look at the Walker report, it's a factor of 4. Not 1 or 2, that's not extreme enough, but a factor of 4. I showed the math a couple of presentations ago. We've also got some secret cost appraisals and some secret proposal selections, secret beneficiaries, highly subsidized lease. Looks like we picked a bad company. A lot of issues there. Last couple of meetings, people have said that the RFP process works. Well, it works wonderfully if you like secret cost appraisals. Works great if you like overpriced arrangements. Works great if you want to ignore petitions. If you like massive subsidies and hidden investors, the traditional RFP process is wonderful. But if you like open and efficient government, it's a whole other story. So if you want to try to change tradition, you've got your work cut out for you. Trying to change a bad management practice, bad policy, very difficult. I've done it before, and it's a lot of work. You need patience, determination, and a lot of information. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm coming up here and talking to everybody. Now, I'd like to make some recommendations. Council should demand transparency. We need respect for taxpayers. And bad contracts with bad companies should be revoked. Pretty much all there is to it. Bad companies, bad contracts, out they go. Now, as is always the case, I like to say we should enjoy our world. Here's a picture of a sunset I took here in town a couple of weeks ago. And with that, I bid everybody a nice, colorful evening.